We're talking about the original intent of those who ratified our Constitution. And in light of that, I wanted to talk to you briefly about centralization of power. There's a statement that absolute power corrupts absolutely. And historically, you'll find that's fairly true. Uh, the idea of controlling the believing of people, which has been united to form a government. We've formed a government for our own protection and our own prosperity. Now people want to use that power for other things, their own personal things or groups things, and often even things that are hurtful to the people themselves. Uh, we want to avoid that. We want it to be used for those things that we wanted it used for in the original, and then nothing else. That's the idea of declared and restricted power. If there are things that people need, have to have, and they can control those things, then they can control your believing. Okay, if they can control healthcare, then they have a way to control your believing. If they can control the banks, they have a way to control your believing. These are just some of the areas. An example is the American Indians up in Michigan had gotten used to, after 100 years of being traded with by the French and the English, pots and pans, steel knives, gun, rifles, you know, and whiskey. And then after the French Indian Wars ended, I think that's 1760, the British didn't have to give them gifts anymore. They didn't really need them. And so they just jacked the price up on everything, started selling bad product, and really treat them poorly. And that's where Pontiac's revolt came from, basically. And the thing was, they had them. These people had lived off the land for thousands of years. Okay, right there in that area, somebody had. Algonquin people, I'm pretty sure, had been there for 1,000 years and done fine. But within 100 years, they'd gotten to the point they had to have these products in their minds. And so when they were taken away, they, in a sense, had a great deal of control over these people. This is the type of thing you have to understand that people try to do, is to get control of those things that you have to have so they can control you, control your belief, and get you to do things for them. One of those things is if they can control the government. And if they can control the government themselves, itself. So if you have a centralized government, and this has been done over and over, where in different smaller countries around the world, they'll go in and set up a dictatorship, and people pay for this. And then once they have that dictatorship set up, they control the dictatorship and they get what they want, perhaps for a corporation, mining rights, okay, this type of thing. Could be for religious reasons to try to get the money from the people into their religious coffers. Happens. And it's basically, if you have a small group of people controlling a dictatorship, all you have to do is control that group of people and you control the whole of the believing of the people, or you can really affect the believing of the people, especially if you have an army behind that. Dividing that power up, in the United States, we do it by dividing the power between the federal government and the states and the counties, if you have them, the townships again, and then the local governments. Another thing that was very effective in dividing the power was the National Guard or militia, okay, having a division in the power of government, dividing it between the federal government, the states and the counties, townships, and villages is just better than just having a centralized national government. Let's say you have all of these divisions of power, but they're all still under the direct control of the top, isn't anything. They all have to be somewhat independent, see, within their own little box. We do our business here, you manage these things. And that's where declaration and restriction is so vital and so useful. You say the federal government has this responsibility, the state government has this responsibility, the county government has this responsibility. Doesn't get rid of evil, doesn't get rid of problems. It just keeps your government in large part from being as big a problem. You're still going to have to deal with, boss hogs and all the corruption at the local level. It's just not as bad as having a big centralized federal government. Well, hopefully this helps.